Phantom Knights have become a tier 1 deck. They're absolutely insane in the boards that they can put up, as well as can break boards going second. The deck just seems to play through all kinds of hand traps. Nibiru, no problem. Impermanence, no problem. Ash Blossom, no problem. And it absolutely gets even more insane with the Destiny Phoenix Enforcer being able to pop the Scythe. And if that doesn't go through, you can still bring back your Break Sword, pop the Dagda, get the Scythe lock anyway. It just seems insane what the Phantom Knights can do now. Not only that, but then not getting rid of the Red Eyes Dragoon bricks for the Phoenix Enforcer, and then plussing off the draw 2 with Celestial. This deck is insane, and it's only gets better when the Brave tokens come out and becomes a more control style deck. But for this video, we're going to show you the combo style, which includes the different factors of the Phantom Knights and how insane, as long as doing 2 combo tutorials to show you the 2 boards, different style boards that you can play on this deck to completely just lock down your opponent. This deck is insane. It's one of my favorite decks to play, and I'm excited to bring you this profile and combo tutorial. So I hope you enjoy it.
House of Cards. TCG.
Let me go ahead and show you my profile for this. Phantom Knights is my next favorite deck right now to Eldlich. I played a lot of Phantom Knights, so this is the deck that I've compiled. This is obviously before Brave tokens come out, because then you can actually play this style deck. This is the combo style of this deck. When Brave tokens come out, it becomes more of a control deck. So you can definitely decide if you want to play more of a control style with this deck or the combos. So this is prior to Brave tokens. So we have 3 Phantom Knight of Torn Scales. He is your second best normal summon, and it could be your first best normal summon. His effect is on the field. When he's summoned, you can activate the effect to discard a card and send a card to the graveyard, send a Duff Phantom Knights card to the graveyard. So definitely a solid effect to get your engine rolling. And then as well, if a Phantom Knights card is banished from the graveyard, you can then activate the effect to summon him back, and then he is banished after that. Our next Phantom Knight card is going to be 3 Boots. Boots is my second favorite Phantom Knight. Some people have cut this to 2. I really like this card at 3 because I do want to see it. It's an easy extender. If you control a Phantom Knight monster, you can summon it. Given it's Rusty, it could be Torn Scales, it could be any of those guys. It's just an inherent summon that you're able to do. And when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to search for a Speller Trap, a Phantom Knight Speller Trap. I run 2 Cloak. Cloak effect is when it's on the field, you can switch it to defense and boost one of your monsters, aka usually Rusty, by 800 attack. And then when it's in the graveyard, you can banish this card to search the Phantom Knights card. So Cloak is also a really good card. I usually use Cloak to grab me my boots, and then that's how I keep extending. I play 1 Greaves. Greaves is important when you have a card that you want to summon out of your hand. So for example, if Greaves is in the graveyard, you can banish it to summon the Phantom Knights card from your hand. As well as if a Phantom Knights card is special summoned to the field and he is in your hand, you can then summon this card from your hand. And then I play 1 Gloves. Gloves is really nice. You can, if you open up a graph or something else, you can go ahead and send Gloves, and then Gloves can basically send you any of your Phantom Knights cards to the graveyard. So he's a great way to extend on and get you out of some different hands that you may be facing. I still am running the 3 Tour Guide. I think right now Tour Guide is still good. There's a debate whether it should be cut or not, and I really enjoy having Tour Guide. And it also baits, sometimes it can bait a hand trap that you don't want to see, because you're going to play a deck full of extenders. You can play through Nib, you could play through 2 or 3 hand traps, no problem with this deck. So having Tour Guide to be able to get and negate out a hand trap, an imperma Ash, is going to then be able to pop off your Rusty, and you're just going to be just fine there. I only run 1 Kakamucha Knight because I don't want to see multiple, but I still think it's really good. It's a great extender, and with having Rhoda in the deck, you can search Kakamucha Knight with Rhoda, so it's almost like playing 2 copies. So Kakamucha Knight, I play at 1. I don't feel like I need it anymore because I want other extenders in the deck. I am running the Danger Package because sometimes I do like to see the Danger Package. A lot of times your Phantom Knight cards that are in your hand you want in the grave, so the Danger Package allows you to get them out. So having the dangers. I've considered cutting them, I haven't yet, and I still like them, and I still feel like they're a very solid card in this deck for not only, especially now that we're not running the Dragoon package and we're running the Destiny package, so now the draw is even more better for you because you're not going to be able to draw into one of your Red Eyes bricks. Now you have the Fusion Destiny package, as well as just the extension that the deck allows you to have. I do play the 2 E-Tallies, and my 2 E-Tally targets are the Wielder and a Tracker. When I did a huge tournament, I actually played 2 Tracker, and it was nice because you want to see it, but in this deck, I went back down to the 1 Wielder, 1 Tracker. The 2 E-Tally, that allows you to get into your extenders, as well as E-Tally is a quick play that you can actually chain to a lot of different things. So having 2 E-Tally is really good to get your extenders out. I'm playing 1 Graph with 1 Seer. I don't feel like I need to play Libic in this deck. I inherently, this card, Graph, he loves my hand. I see Graph so often, but I still don't feel like I need to see Libic because your Torn Scales can discard from hand. Your Dangers can then pitch a card from your hand. They can hit the Graph. So there's a lot of ways to play around opening one of these cards, and I'm going to show you in the combo section. We have your 1 Rhoda, which searches you any warrior monster. And then for the Phantom Knight's traps, I play 3 Fogblights, your best trap in the deck. Basically, this is better than Imperv, except that you can't activate it from the hand, because in the game state, you have to understand that you can also Fogblade your own monster, and they can't attack that monster. So the restriction with this card is it negates effects, and as long as this is negating a monster, neither opponent nor yourself can attack that monster. So this works actually really well on your own monsters. If they wipe your board, and hypothetically, let's say you have Anaconda out, and then you Fogblade the Anaconda, and they have a whole board that has to battle, and you are about to get OTK'd, well, now none of them can attack your Anaconda, and it's to main phase 2. So keep that in mind with this card. It's a broken card. You can definitely use this and utilize this card very well. I play 1 Shade and 1 Wings. I'll be honest with you, given that we don't play a lot of rank 4 packages, I have thought about cutting Shade, and then it comes up where I need Shade, right? So Shade's one of those cards, just haven't decided on yet, but of course, you still gotta run. I mean, Shade's still a great card. It's a great way to go into Rusty and different plays like that. As well as I play the Wings. I play Wings over Sword because Wings is a card where you can flip and it immediately goes to grave, and that enables you to recycle some of your resources by banishing it from the graveyard. So you could definitely play Sword over this. I've just decided that I want to play Wings so that I can immediately, as soon as I activate it, it goes to grave. And then for power spells, I'm running 3 Droplet. Droplet is broken in this deck because you want your cards in the graveyard, so be able to send for cost and then also plus off sending those for the cost is actually broken in this. Droplet, fantastic card in this deck. As well as I play 3 TTTs. This could easily be Chalice, this could be anything else. I wouldn't run Imperm if you're running Shade because that does come up quite often where you can't activate Shade because you have an Imperm in the graveyard. But you could substitute this for Chalice, or any of the quick play negate spells, or this is really a flex spot. I personally like Talents. I like Talents for going first. I can look at my opponent's hand, know what I'm facing up against, and rip out any potential Nibirus or any other hand traps that they may have against me, or like a Droplet or something like that. As well as going second and being able to steal one of their monsters or draw 2 cards and fix my hand. So I like Talents in this deck, but that is a flex spot for you. I play the 1 Called By. It's just an insane card. And then, of course, we have the Fusion Destiny package, as well as a Artifact Scythe. I do main deck it. I think it's a great card to main deck, and it's a good power card. I mean, if you're playing against Flunder, yeah, you can just side it out. So I want to show a couple options, tech options that you could do. This is a 41 card deck, and then if you wanted to sub some things out, you could run more Kakamucha Knights. A lot of people do. I just prefer not to. Junk Ford is another great extender. As long as you control no monsters, you can special summon this card. So he's definitely a good option. I just don't typically like him. And then, like I said, you can also run Sword, which the only difference between Sword and Wings is that Sword boosts your monster by 800, which comes up with Appaloosa. However, it stays on the field, whereas Wings goes to the graveyard. So that does come up quite often. For the extra deck, for Link 1, I play Link Spider. Link Spider comes up a lot. more often than you would think. If you get nibbed, you can link the token off with Link Spider, or if you have Shade Brigadine and you want to go into Anaconda, since Shade is a normal and Anaconda requires 2 effect monsters, you can link Shade or the token into Link Spider with any other effect monster and then go into your Anaconda. For Link 2, we have the Cherubini. Cherubini is pretty pivotal in this. Keep in mind with this card, with Cherubini, is that the cost to send to grave is a cost, right? So when I summon Cherubini and I go into my Link 2 plays, I immediately, the first thing I ask my opponent is the summon okay of Cherubini? And then they'll say yes. Okay, then I'm gonna activate my effect of Cherubini. And then they can say, oh, I'm gonna Ash, or I'm gonna imperm that. That's fine. Well, you can't Ash, but you can imperm him, that's fine. I'm gonna send for cost, because the effect to target and gain the attack is really nothing. That's not what you play Cherubini for. It's to send the card to grave, which is what you're looking to do with this card. So when I summon Cherubini, make sure you ask, is the summon okay? Yes, summon is okay. Activate effect. And that will just save you from any complications you may have with your opponent. We have the Dagda, obviously, to get the scythe to the graveyard. I run the Anaconda because it's just too good and it gets you into your Phoenix Enforcer. And I have an IP Masquerena that links in to a lot of different plays. That's just a standard one there. For Link 3s, we have the Rusty Bardige. That is your, I wouldn't say boss monster, but he's the one that keeps everything alive. So when this card is activated, you get to send a Phantom Knights card to the graveyard and then set a Phantom Knight spell or trap. So this, a lot of times, is going to enable you to send whatever missing piece you need to the graveyard and then set your Fogblade or your Shade Brigadine. I play Unicorn, of course, for the IP and different things like that. I still run Appaloosa because if you open Broken, you can go into Appaloosa before you go into Rusty. And also you can, if you have Anaconda and you have IP up, say you open the Scythe or something, you can then kind of go into that and go into 1600 attack Appaloosa with 2 negates. And then if you have Wings, then again, there's also some different things with that. So I'll show all that off for you. Boss Monster, access code, he lets you go into OTKs to finish the game. You can also run Boros Sword. I think Boros Sword is also a great tech option for this because you have enough monsters to be able to go into Boros Sword with this deck. I've considered running it, but then access code just is too good. So if you don't have access code, you could definitely run Boros Sword. For the Ixies, play 2 Break Sword. Break Sword is just broken going first or going second. Going first, you let Rusty pop it, and then you bring back two of your Phantom Knight monsters as level 4s. It also prevents a lot of your cards from getting banished by their own effects, like for example, Torn Scales. When it summons back, it gets banished when it goes to the grave. Unless it is material for Break Sword, then you're perfectly fine. I play the 1 Leviair Sea Dragon. I do not play the Utopic package because I think that the Utopic package is too easy to out. I'm just going to be 100% honest with you. Imperm, Chalice, Zeus, a lot of cards can just beat over your Utopic, and you commit a lot of resources to have 1 monster negate and 1 tower that is just easily outed. So I play 1 Sea Dragon, and with that I play Zeus, Downward in Zeus. This card is broken in this deck, and I would never cut Zeus. I'm just being 100% honest with you. I have won so many games playing this deck by having the potential to go into a Zeus, because it's too easy to go into Ixie monsters and then just overlay for a Zeus. It's so good. So I would never cut Zeus out of this deck for the Utopic package. Zeus is much more powerful in my opinion. And then we have the 1 Enforcer, of course. So that is the main deck. Side deck is very flexible in this. You can, I run a lot of like just potential that can outboards, can do different things. So it's typically you're gonna run your evenly matches, you're gonna run your lightning storms, whatever you feel like is gonna be able to help you push through games. So I didn't really build a side deck for this because it's gonna be really based on your locals and your matchups. You know, you got your Drolls, your Lancias, your Nibs, all those different things are what you're gonna be playing. Maybe a red reboot and a Pancratop. So it's just your combo deck, typical side deck here. So let's go into the combo portion of this so I can show you how this deck just pops off and does very well. Into the combo portion here, I'm going to show you, if I have time, I'll show you a couple combos with this deck. I might do another video going into more detail on this because of different hands. This can be a complicated deck if you're unfamiliar with Phantom Knights and how it plays. So let's just see our first test hand. This will be going first. So we open a Kakamucha Knight, so our one of, we open Boots, we open Greaves, Etelli, and a Fogblade. So this hand is actually insane, I'm not gonna lie to you. So what we wanna do here first is, you have the Etelli extender. So if I was playing this, I would probably just go ahead and, this is just really good, I'm not gonna lie. Let's just go ahead and normal summon our Stained Greaves. We're gonna go ahead and chain Kakamucha Knight to summon. So from here, we're gonna link to, probably before that, let's just go ahead and summon our Boots. So we're gonna summon our Boots so that way that's on the field. We're gonna go ahead and link to, and we're gonna bring out our Cherubini. Again, we're gonna ask our opponent if the summon is okay. They're gonna say sure. Cherubini is gonna send for cost. And we're gonna go ahead and send our Graph. Graph effect is gonna activate, and that's gonna summon our Seer. Again, this is with no hand traps, right? Because this is just a broken hand here. So now what we're probably gonna do, and you didn't have to bring out Boots, but this is kind of overextending in a way, but this is so you can see full combo. You may play this differently, but again, this is just showing you the full potential here. Let's go ahead and activate Etelli to get the light out of our deck, because Rusty requires 2 dark monsters. So you cannot bring out a Etelli target and then link off into Rusty. We're gonna go ahead and link all 3 of these off because they don't hit you with the nib there, right? And if they do, you still have plenty of follow-up. Let's go into an Appaloosa for 3 negates. Seer effect is gonna activate, and that's gonna bring back our Cherubini. So these 2 now are gonna be able to link off, and we're gonna go into our Rusty. We have not used any effects in the grave yet. So now Rusty has an arrow point in here, which we'll be able to pop off. And then we've used our Etelli here. So we're gonna activate Rusty effect, and we're gonna get rolling off, and let's just go ahead and send a Torn Scales. And we don't really need another extender at this point. So we can go ahead and set Wings, set another Fogblade. Let's just say that we set a Fogblade here. Now we can look into our graveyard and see what we have. So we have Boots, which is gonna search us another trap, and we have a Torn Scales, which is gonna be able to come back. Keep in mind we have this in our hand, right? So let's go ahead and banish our Boots. And Boots can search us our Shade, since we already have 2 Fogblades. We can go ahead and set Shade and summon Shade. And before that, obviously Torn Scales is gonna come out. So now we bring out our Shade. We could activate Torn Scales effect if you wanted to, which was to pitch that. And looking at our hand, we have a Greaves, which can special summon from hand, and that's about it there. So let's go ahead and activate Torn Scales. Let's pitch our Fogblade, and we're gonna go ahead and send our Cloak. Cloak is then gonna be able to get us another extender here, which is gonna be able to help us keep pushing. We could link off our Shade to go into a Link Spider, and then we can link these 2 off, which Torn Scales will be banished, and we can look and we can go into a Dagda if we can activate another effect, which we could bring back Cloak, boost this attack. So let's go ahead and bring out our Dagda here, and then we're gonna go ahead and activate our Fogblade. We'll bring out Cloak. Cloak effect on field is gonna activate, switching this to defense and boosting Rusty's attack. So now Rusty is sitting at 2900 attack. We have a 3 negate Appaloosa. Dagda effect is now gonna resolve, and that's gonna go ahead and set us our Scythe. And now the only thing we're missing here is just one more extender, which looking at our grave, we have a Greaves. We could now link off Dagda and our Cloak. Cloak's gonna get banished. And we can go into an Anaconda. Now we can pay 2,000. So we send those, and then we can bring out our Enforcer. And the only thing that we missed out on was really bringing out a Ixie monster, but we have so much follow-up here. That's because we went for the Appaloosa play, and that's to prevent any hand traps. But basically the board that we're looking at here, with plenty of follow-up, is we have a Greaves, which we can then summon. We have Enforcer pop. You could go ahead on in phase and pop your Anaconda if you wanted to, or you can leave it. We have a Fog Blade, and we have a 3-negate Appaloosa. So on your opponent's turn, you're going to activate Enforcer. Enforcer's then going to pop your Scythe. Scythe effect's going to activate, summoning and locking them out of the extra deck. You activate Enforcer effect as well to summon back on standby phase, and then we're going to cut the deck, because then on our turn, when they pass, and let's say you Fog Bladed something, so that's up. So draw phase, we're going to pick up a call by. Enforcer's going to be able to return. Let's just put the Enforcer here. And we have a call by. If we set that, we can then Celestial effect, banish Dasher and Celestial, draw 2 more cards, which is a Torn Scales and a Droplet, which is even more insane. You could then normal summon the Torn Scales. You could activate the effect if you wanted to pitch the Droplet, and then you could just keep extending from there. So let's say you did, and then you sent off a Cloak. So from here, you could link off either Anaconda and Scythe, or what if you wanted to do Torn Scales, doesn't matter. Let's say you link these 2 off and went into the Unicorn. And at this point, now you just activate the Cloak effect in Grave, you banish it, grab yourself a Boots. Boots is then going to be able to summon, and then you can just overlay these 2 to pop some of the back row that they may have set up against you. Rusty effect's going to trigger. You can pop a card in their field, and then you can activate Break Sword effect. You can detach a card, target itself, and target a card in their field, pop another card. Break Sword effect activates and bring these back as a level 4, and you can just basically fully extend from there. So that is the kind of overextension combo. Let me show you a different combo with this deck. But yeah, you can see the potential of this deck. It can play through hand traps. It just keeps bringing bodies out, and it is absolutely insane. So let's do one more combo. So for this combo, I went ahead and grabbed a Tour Guide so I can show you how Tour Guide is a 1-card combo for this deck. And we're just going to go ahead and draw 4 more. We'll pick whatever cards. It doesn't matter. So we have Tour Guide. We're going to open a Fusion Destiny, a TTT, Torn Scales, and a Seer. So what we're going to be able to do here is we will normal summon our Tour Guide. I also told you that this card just loves my hand, which this is going to be fine, right? Tour Guide's going to bring out Graph, but you already have Seer in hand, so I wanted to just show you the combo with the Tour Guide. But Graph has an effect though, where it's only from deck, so you can't actually summon from the hand here. So we're going to link these 2 off, go into the Cherubini, ask if the summon is okay. Then we're going to Cherubini effect. And since we already have the Seer, we're not going to send a Graph. Let's just go ahead and send probably the card I'm going to send is the Greaves. This is a good way to show you that, like, that's why Greaves is so important in this deck. So let's go ahead and send the Greaves, and I'm going to show you why that's important. Then what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to banish the Greaves to special summon out the Torn Scales. From here, you want to use the Torn Scales effect, but at least we're getting that into the grave. And then we can go ahead and link these both off and go into our Rusty. So Rusty's going to come out, and when that happens, you're going to activate Rusty effect, and you're going to go ahead and send a, let's just go ahead and send a Cloak here. So we send Cloak. Keep in mind, we have not used the Torn Scales effect yet either. So when we send the Cloak, we're going to go ahead and set a Fog Blade. Let's just say. No sense in setting Shade here. Now we're going to banish the Cloak, and we're going to go ahead and grab ourselves a Boots. Now we're going to chain the Torn, or on res, we're going to bring the Torn Scales back out. You're going to activate Torn Scales effect, and you're going to discard Seer. And that's going to be able to send you another card to the grave. So since we have our engine rolling, let's just go ahead and send a Gloves. We send Gloves. And then what we can do from here is we're gonna activate Seer Effect, which is gonna bring back our Cherubini. Yeah, absolutely insane. That's why I said I don't need Limit, because I can play through it. You can then special summon out the boots. And from here you can decide, we know that we wanna get a Dagda, and we know that we have a lot of extension here. We have a Gloves, which can now bring us back our card from the grave. You could go for the Levier. Levier would be a great call to bring back your Cloak, and then to be able to really bring some different cards. So let's go ahead and overlay these two for a Levier Sea Dragon. We're gonna go ahead and activate Levier, pitch our Torn Scales. Our Torn Scales does not get banished because it was a material here, and we're gonna bring back our Cloak. Cloak effect, you could wait on this. Let's just go ahead and link these two off first, and we're gonna go into our Dagda. So we bring out Dagda, we're gonna activate Cloak effect, and that's gonna boost our Rusty by 800 attack. Now we can set our Scythe from our deck. Let's say we just set it right here. Set our Scythe, and now we have really all of our cards back in our grave. We still have a Talents and a Fusion Destiny in our hand, and we could Ragged Gloves and bring back Ragged Gloves, send a trap, and then we could bring back our Torn Scales. So Ragged Gloves, banish. You could send Wings here, you could send a Fog Blade. Doesn't really matter too much except for the attack boost, so let's just go ahead and send our Wings. Wings is then gonna, because what Glove says is if this is sent to the graveyard, you can send one Phantom Knights card. So Gloves can send your traps. Gloves is one of the few cards that actually allows you to send the traps. We're gonna go ahead and banish our Wings, and then we're gonna bring back our Torn Scales. Now what we'll do is we'll overlay these two, and we'll go into our Break Sword. Rusty effect is now gonna activate. It's gonna pop our Break Sword, and then Break Sword effect is gonna activate to bring back our Cloak and our Torn Scales. So from here, we can go into anything at this point. We have two cards. We can go into IP. This is typically where you would want to go for an Anaconda if you wanted to, but these are level 4. So we can just go ahead and link these two off. We'll bring out our IP, and then at this point, we will activate our Fusion Destiny from hand since we hard drew it. We're gonna go ahead and send our bricks, which is Celestial and Dasher, and then that's gonna bring out our Enforcer. Now again, we're in the same state, which is we're gonna go ahead and pass on this. Oh, before you pass, make sure to go ahead and grab yourself a free card, which is your Boots, is gonna grab yourself a Fog Blade. So you grab Fog Blade, Fusion Destiny Resolve. You can set another Fog Blade. If you haven't used Talents, you have Talents in hand. Your opponent goes, standby, you can Enforcer, you can pop the Scythe. Scythe effect is then gonna activate Engrave, come back and lock them out of the extra deck. You can also Dagda, or IP effect, if you needed to bring out an Appaloosa for 2 negates, or you could go into your Unicorn, which is then gonna shuffle a card back. So this is basically the deck in general, and it is absolutely broken. So I hope these combo videos, we're able to show you a little bit different styles with these and the different plays that you can go for. This is my build, so let me know what you guys think. Comment down below. Make sure to like and subscribe. And this has been Tyler with House of Cards TCG. I appreciate all of you for watching. Have a good day, everyone.
House of